If you want to see everything change for you, understand this fundamental truth: you don't have to change what's outside of yourself. What truly needs transformation is what's inside. To achieve more, you must first become more. Jim Rohn famously said, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills." If you start working on yourself and making those crucial personal changes, you'll find that everything in your life will begin to shift dramatically. Let's explore the concept of personal development, a remarkable journey I began at age 25 and have relentlessly pursued ever since. Back in the 90s, my goal was to continually improve my craft, refine my business operations and elevate every aspect of what I did. Once I discovered this simple formula, it became evident where the problems lay and how to tackle them effectively. When teaching kids about personal development, I often start with the topic of money. While money is not the sole value, it provides a tangible starting point because it's something you can measure. If someone asks, "How are you doing?" you can count your money to get a straightforward answer. This simple metric helps to identify whether there might be errors in judgment or gaps in discipline in your life. Although money isn't the only thing that matters, it serves as a clear and easy way to gauge if mistakes have been made and where improvements might be needed. Here's the crucial principle to understand: we are paid for the value we bring to the marketplace, not for the time we spend. It's essential for both kids and adults to grasp this concept. For example, if someone says, "I make $20 an hour," that's a misleading statement. The truth is, you don't get paid simply for the hour you work, you get paid for the value you deliver during that time. So here's a critical question for you: is it possible to become twice as valuable and earn twice as much money in the same amount of time? Can you become 3 times as valuable and earn 3 times as much money? The answer is a resounding yes. To earn more money in the same time frame, you simply need to enhance your value. America is a unique place, offering a ladder of opportunity. You might start at a level like $4 an hour, and there's ongoing debate about raising the minimum wage. However, the real focus shouldn't be on just starting higher, but on climbing that ladder. The goal is not to remain stagnant at the bottom, but to grow, change and increase your value. I began from humble beginnings, raised in Idaho with only 1 year of college education. At 25, I found myself struggling financially with nothing but pennies in my pocket and a mountain of debt. But through hard work and transformation, I turned my life around. It's entirely possible to become economically valuable and achieve remarkable success if you commit to working on yourself. The secret to success was simple yet profound: work harder on yourself than you do on your job. This principle can turn your life around. If you focus on developing yourself, you will not only make a living but potentially build a fortune. At age 25, although I was known for my hard work, my efforts were primarily focused on my job rather than on personal development. To truly transform your income and your life, start today. Don't wait. Focus on personal development, enhance your skills, refine your communication abilities, improve your attitude and increase your overall value. When you invest in yourself and make these essential personal changes, you will see profound improvements in your life. Don't attempt to alter external factors such as the seed, soil, sunshine or seasons. Allow these natural elements to work for you. Instead, concentrate on your internal growth. Work on your philosophy, attitude, personality and communication skills. Develop all the abilities necessary to become more valuable in the marketplace. When you make these personal changes, you'll see profound changes in your life. Here's what else I hope you'll find here today: inspiration. And who knows the mystery of inspiration? Why are some people inspired and others are not? You were inspired to be here today, some were not. The mystery of why some people are driven to take action while others are not is something we don't fully understand. Perhaps some turned it down because they thought it was too costly, would take too much time, or they were too busy. There are countless reasons why some people seize opportunities and others let them pass by. This is one of the great mysteries of the mind, and I leave it at that. Some things are simply beyond our understanding, so I choose a straightforward approach. Some people act and some don't. That's as profound as my philosophy gets. Some buy in and some don't. Some pursue their goals and some don't. Some change and some don't. If you've been around for a while, you'll notice patterns. Out of 10 people, maybe 3 will take action while 7 won't. In whatever business you're involved in, you'll start to see this ratio: those who act and those who don't. Why do some people not act? The the truth is we don't always know. I used to try to figure it out, but now I just stick to a simple approach. When someone complains about their circumstances, saying this happens to me, that goes wrong for me, and wonders why all these things are happening to them, my response is I don't know. The best explanation I can offer is that such problems seem to to people who are focused on them. I admit my understanding is limited, so I prefer to keep things simple. There's an interesting story about the beginning of the Christian church. As someone with only a basic understanding of the Bible, I recall that on the day the Christian church was founded, a magnificent sermon was delivered. It was a classic example of effective communication given to a large multitude, yet the reaction to this sermon varied widely. Isn't that fascinating? Some listeners were perplexed by what was presented despite it being straightforward. The best explanation I have is that they are the perplexed ones. Others mocked and laughed at the presentation, even though it was sincere and honest. Some found reasons to ridicule it. The simplest explanation is that they are the mockers and laughers. Some people were confused and didn't understand what was happening, which is usually evident when they ask what's going on. It's intriguing how the same sincere message can provoke such diverse reactions. In summary, the sermon resulted in about 3,000 believers, which was a remarkable outcome for the first day. In contrast, some people are so cautious that they never achieve much. They're overly concerned with risks, which is often the language of the poor. They worry about potential problems and decide not to act. But I discovered that life is inherently risky from the moment you're born. Risk is part of life. Avoiding risk by not trying is riskier than taking action. Investing in anything, whether it's marriage, business, or personal development, comes with risks. But consider this: you won't get out of life alive anyway, so instead of seeking safety and security, embrace adventure. It's better to live a vibrant 30 years full of adventure than to spend the 100 years safely tucked away in a corner. What truly matters is not how long you live, but how you live now. Let's address another attitude problem: pessimism. Pessimism is a destructive mindset that focuses on the negative aspects of life, the problems, the difficulties, and their reasons why things can't be done. The pessimist leads an unfulfilling life, always looking for faults rather than virtues. This mindset is akin to looking through a dirty window and only seeing the grime rather than the sunset. The pessimist always sees the glass as half empty, while the optimist sees it as half full. Why do the same circumstances affect people differently? It all depends on how you view them. Our lives are largely influenced by our thoughts. It's not the way things are that affects us the most, but how we perceive them. I learned that poor thinking habits can keep people stuck in poverty. It's not that they don't work hard, but their thinking is flawed. The mind acts like a factory where thoughts are the ingredients that shape the fabric of our lives. As the Bible says, as you think, so you become. Say, when I first started learning about this, I would begin my day by reading the newspaper, filling my mind with negative news, wars, riots, murders, and other tragedies. My days would reflect this negativity. I realized that this approach was detrimental and that what we consume mentally affects our lives profoundly. One of the best pieces of advice I received was to stand guard at the door of your mind. Be selective about what you let into your mental factory. Because you have to live with the results. Next, let's discuss the last and perhaps most deadly attitude disease: complaining. Whining and griping are destructive behaviors that can sabotage your future. It's akin to economic cancer. If you doubt its severity, consider the story of the children of Israel in the Old Testament. They were freed from slavery and given the chance to reach the promised land. However, their constant complaining and grumbling prevented them from reaching their destination. Their story illustrates two things: indulging in negativity can derail your future, and even divine patience has its limits. Be vigilant against attitudes that can undermine your progress. Finally, the diseases of attitude. It's never that pleasant to talk about the negative, but we've got to talk about it because life is part negative. These attitude diseases are like weeds that grow in the garden. It's a normal part of life. Here's a good phrase to note: negative is normal. It's not successful, but it's normal. It's part of life. You must learn to handle the negative. Don't ignore it, handle it. You don't have to live in it, you don't have to dwell on it, but you do have to handle it. So you've got to handle the negative. Here's what part of it is. It's called The Great War Between Good and Evil. Mr. Reynolds and I are working on a new book this year called The Great War Between Good and Evil, and there is a war. The minute you were born, you got involved in the war between good and evil, between darkness and light, between negative and positive, between evil and good, between tyranny and democracy, between weeds and human activity. I mean, the war is on if democracy sleeps. Guess, who never sleeps? Tyranny in the absence of light. Guess what's automatic? Darkness. If good does not are itself and become active. Guess what moves in evil? It's a war, a mental war, a physical war, a financial war, between enterprise and ease, between accomplishment and failure. It's a war. That's why there's an Old Testament phrase that gives the best advice for human activity when it says 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Now I'm sure we've taken that to mean don't work all 7 days, take one off. Here's what it also means: only take one off or you're liable to lose the war. You've got to really work on your consistent self-discipline on a daily basis, or you'll find yourself distracted by negative thoughts, distracted by negative people, distracted by water cooler chatter, and pretty soon, depending on the type of people you've associated with, distracted by your doubts within yourself. Never underestimate the power of influence and associations, and never underestimate their power of your own consistent self-discipline. Now let's take a closer look at discipline and the 3 steps to becoming disciplined. First, true discipline is not the easiest option. Most people would rather sleep until 10:00 than get up at 600. It's easier to go to bed late, sleep late, show up late, leave early. It's easier not to read. It's easier to turn on the television than to open a book. It's easier to do just enough than to do it all. Waiting is always easier than acting. Trying is always easier than doing. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have to make our bed in the morning. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we didn't have to do these things? What do you suppose would become of us? You're right, not much. For whatever the reason, the system we live in and contribute to is designed to make the easiest things in life the most unprofitable. Profitable seems to be the most difficult. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards, and a life of discipline and its far more significant rewards. Each has its own price: the price of discipline or the price of regret. There was once a man who was a great investment banker, one of their foremost in the world in his profession. He was born in poverty in Europe, was completely self-taught, and had used brains and guts to make a tremendous fortune. Many listened in fascination to this man telling the story of his life, and then would say, "So you should write a book that would sum up all you've learned about the world and about how to succeed in it." But this great international investment banker just looked and smiled. He said, "Well, I suppose I could do that, but it wouldn't really be much of a book. In fact, I could tell you everything I know in just 15 or 20 minutes, everything I've come to understand over the course of a lifetime. But what good would it do? These aren't things you can just hear about from someone else or read in a book until you've discovered them for yourself. They're just words, just puffs of air or drops of ink on a page. You've got to live in order to learn what I've learned. You've got to arrive at these truths the way you arrive at your destination after a long journey, with that same sense of fulfillment and joy. It's ironic, isn't it? Wisdom is not a thing you can buy or a course you can take in school or a degree you can earn, yet every parent wants his children to attend good schools, and rightfully so. Wisdom is not really something you can get from another person, yet you can gain some wisdom from everyone you meet. Wisdom is something a wise man always feels he needs more of, yet the true sources of wisdom lie nowhere but within ourselves. There are plenty of people who are too smart for their own good, people who are filled to overflowing with facts and technical knowledge, but who are sadly lacking in human understanding and common sense. We've all met people like that. They score high on all the tests, get perfect grades in school, win all the prizes, and often get paid very well to practice their skills, to build things, write computer programs, carry on lawsuits, and manage other people's affairs. But go home with one of these quizzes, look at their lives outside of work, if they have a life outside their work, and you'll find that all sorts of things that regular people know, like the difference between right and wrong, what's fair, how to give happiness, and what life is worth, that they haven't even thought about. Do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different, like the new health disciplines, relationships with your family, whatever it is. It doesn't matter how small it is, if you'll start doing different things with the same circumstances. Since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves, we can change what we do. And then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. John, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. A few little simple principles. Here, once you understand these, it starts to explain so much. Now sometimes it's a little tough to take blaming yourself instead of the marketplace taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission, and this one was a little tough for me. He said, "Mr. John, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises," and he said, "Here's how that occurs. You've attracted up until now the things to you because of the person you've become now." I said, "What? Well, how can I change all that?" He said, "Very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more." And then he said, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes, and it'll all change for you." He said, "Here's the secret, Mr. John. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job." Once I got that, it turned my life around. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, "If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune." Wow, if you had known me at age 25, you would have said, "Jim Rohn's a hard worker." If you'd have known me, you'd have said, "I don't mind coming a little bit early, staying a little bit late. I don't mind that." And you'd have said, "Well, Jim Rohn's a hard worker." You'd say, "Well, how come he's got pennies in his pocket, nothing in the bank, and is behind on his promises?" Well, I was a hard worker, but I was working hard on my job, not on myself. I'm telling you, if you learn that simple little principle and start the process today, latest tomorrow, I'll give you tonight to think it over and start this whole process of personal development. Work on yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, you can so dynamically change your income, and economics is the least of the values that you can start earning in terms of equity if you'll start working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Work hard on the skills, work hard on yourself, and develop the graces, all of the stuff necessary to become more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, your whole life can explode into change. Promotions, no problem. Becoming more valuable to the company, I'm telling you, no problem. Money, no problem. Economics, no problem. Future, no problem. If you just go to work on the right thing, don't get things out that to change. Don't try to change the seed, don't change the soil, don't change the sunshine, don't change the rain, don't change the mix of seasons. Let the miracle of everything that's available work for you, and start working on the inside. Work on your philosophy, work on your attitude, work on your personality, work on your language, work on the gift of communication, work on all of your abilities. And if you'll start making those personal changes, I'm telling you, everything will change for you.